Welcome to the Vendio webinar on getting ready for the holiday selling season. My name is Nathan, and I'll be showing you how to leverage your Vendio account to get ready for the holiday selling season, as well as some general tips and things to consider. Please note that this webinar is not meant to replace general planning for the season, but it should be looked at as a supplement to your normal planning. There will be time for questions at the end. Please go ahead and type your questions into the question box of the webinar widget during the webinar. And at the end of the webinar, I will do my best to answer the questions for you. During today's webinar, we will be covering topics such as how to edit your Vendio inventory stock levels in bulk, how to list your seasonal items quickly and across marketplaces, how to use Vendio reports to prepare for the season, and also other general suggestions to make sure that you are ready. All right, let us start by taking a look at how you can get a general idea of the amount of business that you can expect this season. If this isn't your first year selling, then you should have sales data that you can look at from last year to compare. If you've been using Vendio for sales for over a year, then your data is already in your Vendio account. If you just started using Vendio, then you can use the data that you are collecting this year in order to prepare for next year. In the meantime, hopefully you have last year's data in a format that you can use and read in order to prepare for this year. In order to pull last year's data from Vendio, we're going to go to Analytics in the menu at the top of the page in your Vendio account, and then to Reports. I am using a demo account, and there is a small amount of sales data in this account from November of last year that we'll view. You will want to pull a bit more than that. You'll want to pull data for at least for November and December of last year. And you can pull reports for up to 2 months at a time using the reporting tool, keeping in mind that you can pull as many of those reports as you like if you do want to pull more than 2 months of data in total. But again, at a minimum, you should be looking at your data from last November and December. Today, we are going to take a look at the sales report, and you'll see there are a series of tabs at the top left of the page in the report section, and they have the different types of reports that we offer. The one that we're going to take a look at today is sales. So we'll go ahead and click on the sales tab. Now we're just going to select the date range that we want to view. And so in the right-hand side of the page, you see we've got the little calendar icon so that we can pick the start date. And I'm going to click on that. And I'm just going to click on the current month and year in order to select November of 2017, and then click OK. And then I'll start with the first day in November. And then the to date or the end date of the report. Again, we got the little calendar icon at the far right of the page. We'll click on that. Click on the current month and year, and then select November of last year. Click OK. And then I'm just going to pick the last day of November so that we pull that entire month. Now that we've selected the date range, we will just click the Download Report button. And we'll go ahead and let that report download. I'm just going to open it up. And we'll open that report up here. And so you'll notice that the report is already sorted by the date of sale. And looking at the days of the sale, you can tell which days are likely to be your busiest and about how busy. For example, with the data that we have in the sample report, the most sales were on the 6th of November. And so you might expect that time of year this year to also be the busiest. Keep in mind that you're not just looking at the day of the month. Likely last year, Black Friday and Cyber Monday were probably two of your busier days, but they're not going to land on the same day of the month this year. So make sure that you're comparing Black Friday from last year to Black Friday from this year, and Cyber Monday from last year to Cyber Monday of this year, keeping in mind they're not always the same date. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to sort this file by either item title or item SKU. You can do it either way, but this way you can put similar items and group them together into your report. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to sort and then custom sort. And then we are going to, let's go ahead and sort by the SKU and then click OK. And now we have the items pulled up here, sorted by and grouping similar items together. And this should give you a general idea of what you were selling this time of year last year, or November of last year, or December of last year, depending on which month you're looking at. If there's a bigger seller in there that you don't have much stock of right now, you might want to try to get more stock before it's too late. Keeping in mind, though, you want to remember to account for things like the toy of the year. You don't want to get stuck with too much stock of something that was a fad last year but not this year. For example, you don't want to end up with boxes full of Hatchimals that you have to liquidate. But if you do have some big sellers in here that were not a fad for last year specifically, and you don't have much of them, then now is the time to get more of them if you can. And next, we're going to go ahead and sort the file by venue. And this should give you a general idea of which marketplaces you're most likely to get more sales on, so that you can figure out where to focus most of your attention. So in this example report, you can see that we had more sales in the Vendio store than on eBay or Amazon. And by sorting by venue and just taking a quick look, you can get a general idea, again, of which marketplaces you can expect to be the busiest. Something else that can help when you're looking at the reports is to compare last month of this year to last month of last year. And to do that, you would just pull two different reports. You would just pull a report from September, for example, of this year, and then also pull a report from September of last year, and then compare the two of those reports together. See if your sales volume has increased or possibly decreased year over year. See if you're selling the same types of items this year as you were last year. The chances are, for example, let's say if your sales volume increased 20% last month compared to last month of the previous year, then you might expect a similar percentage increase this holiday selling season. And again, you'll just pull that report, both of those reports right here from your Vendio account, and compare those two together. All right, next, let us take a look at how to easily update your Vendio inventory with new stock that you purchased. After you've taken a look at these reports, you might need to go out and get some new stock if you have enough time to do it. Again, it is a little late in the year for that, but if you've identified some stock that you need, go and get it now if you can. And then you'll want to, of course, update your Vendio inventory with those new stock levels. If you don't, then they won't be available for sale and you won't be able to sell them. Hopefully you're using the shared listing strategy. I do want to mention that there are a few different ways to list your items through Vendio to the marketplaces on which you sell. The shared strategy allows you to share your entire quantity across all of the marketplaces that you're selling on. And if you're not using the shared listing strategy, then it is something to consider. It helps you get those items up in front of more people. Okay, there are multiple ways to update your stock levels in Vendio. One way that we're going to take a look at is to go to Items in the menu at the top of the page in your Vendio account, and then go to the My Items page. Once you are on the My Items page, you want to make sure that this box at the top center for Quick Edit Mode is checked. We do have a checkbox there, so we are good, and that allows you to do many of the bulk options that you have on this page. Now we're going to go ahead and find that item that we have more stock of in order to update the quantity. Let's say we want to update these twist ties, for example. You can search for it just by typing it in to the box if you don't see it there right away. And then we can go ahead and update the quantity. So we're going to go over to the total quantity field, and we're just going to double click on the current quantity number. and that allows us to edit that field. Let's say maybe we have 10 of those now. So we'll go ahead and type in 10, and then we'll click Save at the bottom right of the page in order to save those changes. And now we have updated our quantity to 10. Keep in mind that the total quantity field should be the total quantity of the item that you have in stock currently. That should include items that have already sold but not yet been shipped. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the total quantity field. If you do have orders that have been placed but you have not yet shipped the orders and have not yet marked those orders as shipped, then the quantities for those orders should also be included in the total quantity field until you have marked them as shipped. And then another way to update your quantities in bulk is using the CSV file update option, and we will take a look at this in just a few minutes. But before we do take a look at CSV files, I did have a suggestion, and that is to make sure that you get any seasonal items that you have in stock listed now. There is no reason to wait until we are closer to the holiday season. Some shoppers are already shopping for the holidays, and it pays off to get those items in front of them now while those shoppers are looking. And also remember any seasonal stock that you might have left over from last year. If you have boxes of seasonal stock from last year in maybe your office or warehouse or wherever you store it, just collecting dust, now is the time to get that listed and to get it out of the area where you're storing your products. All right, let us take a look at how a CSV file can be used to get your new stock listed quickly, and also how to use CSV files to update existing inventory. For those of you who might not know, CSV file it's basically just an Excel spreadsheet saved in a specific format, and it has your data in that file, and then you can make changes to that file and then upload those changes to your Vendio account. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to items again in the menu at the top of the page, but this time we're going to go to import items. And then once we are on the import items page, we are going to click on the CSV file icon. And at the top of this page, you'll see this link for how to prepare your import file. So let's go ahead and open that up. And this file starts out with, with a handy table of contents that lets you know where everything is. But after the table of contents, it gives you the fuller instructions on how to use CSV files. If you have not used Vendio CSV files before, I would recommend giving that a quick read so that you understand the process a little bit better. But after you scroll down through that, you will get to this list of the CSV field requirements and definitions. And so what this file does is it takes all of the different fields that you can fill in a CSV file, and it gives you all the data that you might need to know about those fields. So for example, it lets you know that the SKU, here's the field name is SKU, defines that field. It lets you know that it's a unique identifying inventory number. Let you know whether it's required or not. It is required for update mode, but not for new items. And then it also lets you know which marketplaces it's used for, in this case, Amazon, eBay, OpenSky, and the Vendio store. And then finally, it gives you any field requirements and sometimes examples depending on the field. The SKU, for example, we do have a 40-character limit. And then again, it takes each field in that file and it gives you all of that data for each field. I definitely recommend referencing this file when you first start using CSV files, and even after you've been using them for a while, every now and again, you might still need to refer to it. And so going back to the import page, there is also a link right here to download the spreadsheet template, and you will definitely need to download that spreadsheet template. And we're just going to click on the link to do that. And then we're just going to open that file up. And so here you go. You can see that first field, the SKU field that we were just looking at, in order as it is in the how to prepare your CSV file document we were just looking at. It should be in the same order there for you to make it easier to find those fields. And you can also use this process to either create a completely new item or in order to update an existing item. If you're creating a completely new item, the only field that's required is the title field. That's the only one that you have to fill in order to successfully upload to your Vendio account. But of course, you'll want to put in as much data as you have available to make it easier for you. You can, though, always edit those existing items once they're imported in order to correct or add additional data. If you are using the CSV file to update existing items, like in our example of updating the inventory quantities to add more stock that you have purchased, then the only field that is required is the SKU field. That allows our system to match up the items that you are updating from your CSV file to the items that are already in your Vendio account. I would recommend when you are creating a completely new item, even though the SKU field is not required, I would recommend putting in your own unique SKU number at that time. You don't have to. If you leave it blank, our system will automatically create a SKU for you. But a good tip is to keep a copy of your import file available with all the data included so you can use that same file in order to update existing items when you need to make changes. If you create your own SKU when you import a new item, then that SKU will already be in the file for you when it is time for you to update those items in the future. If perhaps you imported your existing items from eBay, or you already created them manually in your Vendio account, or maybe you use your CSV file but you lost the original copy and you don't have it anymore, don't worry too much. Just go back to your Vendio account, go to Items, and then Inventory Export. And then on the Inventory Export page, select the fields you want. Might as well just take all of them, it doesn't hurt. Click the blue Export Inventory button. It might take a little bit for that file to be created. You can click this blue Refresh Status button to find out once it's ready. And then you can download a copy of your data, including the SKU, and then you can use that data in order to do CSV updates. All right, let's see here. All right, let us take a closer look at the fields that are available for you to use in the CSV import template. We'll just kind of go through the process as if we're filling it out to import an item. I'm going to go a little bit quickly. It's just to give you a general idea of how the CSV file works. Again, the first time or two that you fill this out, you will probably want to refer to the import guide to let you know what is accepted and what's not and all that good stuff. When you're filling out your items, each row will be an item. So let's say we need to give our item a SKU. So you'll just type in an alphanumeric SKU number. You'll type in the title of the item. Let's say we're selling an iPhone, perhaps. Product identifier type, so that would be maybe we want to use the UPC code, and then the product identifier itself would actually be the UPC code itself. The EPID, so that's your eBay product ID. So if you have that, you would enter it in here. Subtitle, if you're using a subtitle, you would put it in here. Total inventory quantity that you have of that item. Let's say we have 10. Cost to seller. So this field is for the amount of money that you paid for the item. And I do really recommend that you fill this information in. The reports that we were looking at earlier, there are some other reports that you can pull, including the profit and loss report. And if you put in the cost to you, the cost to seller, that you paid for the item, then those profit and loss reports can be used in order to calculate how much money you're actually making. But without knowing what you paid for the products, or the report system will not be able to accurately calculate that for you. The price field is what you are charging for the item. The item description is just your item description of what you're selling. You can use HTML code in this field if you would like to. The condition of the item, any condition notes, the item weight, and that is in ounces, shipping weight, also in ounces, the item length, width, and height, and that is in inches. The item package size, you could probably leave blank, but if you have some unusually sized packages, then you might need to fill that in. Inventory folder, I do recommend saving your items in folders in order to easily find specific items. For example, you might want to put all of the phones that you're selling in one inventory folder and other items that you're selling in a different folder. So let's put that in our phones folder. Item allocation strategy, again, I would recommend the shared strategy so that you can send your entire quantity that you're selling to all of the marketplaces on which you sell. You can enter in any inventory notes you have, labels, if you want to put in the website, year made, where made, manufacturer, brand, or manufacturer part number, or your warehouse or bin location. And those are all optional, of course. And then next are the images. You can have up to 50 images per item. And in order to upload your images, you would just put in a link to the image and where it is stored online, right in the images section. And then that image will be uploaded when you upload your file. And again, you can do up to 50 of those at a time. And we're just going to scroll on past the images section. And next we are going to see what other options we have here. We have the custom fields, in case you're using any custom fields. The eBay site, which is probably going to be eBay US. It would either be eBay US or eBay Motors if you're selling on eBay Motors. Next is your eBay user ID. You can use multiple eBay IDs with your Vendio account. If you do have multiple eBay IDs in your account, then you would specify which one you want to use here. Otherwise, it will use the one that's set as a default. Or if you only have one eBay ID, it'll just use that one and you can just leave this blank. Next are your eBay categories. So the first eBay category, second eBay category, and then eBay store category as well can be entered here. Then your eBay title, if it's the same as the main title that we entered at the beginning, it'll get copied over automatically, so no need to fill it in again. Listing format, such as fixed price, the duration of the listing, let's do 30-day. Listing quantity, want that whole 10 quantity listed. Your buy it now fixed price amount, however much you are charging for the item. If you're doing an auction, your starting bid or reserve price. And then we're on the Vendio store options. So if you're using the Vendio store, you would put in your Vendio store category. If you're putting the item on sale, you would enter in the Vendio store sale price, and then the sale start and end date. And then also if you want that item to be homepage featured or not. Next, you see the variation options here. It's a little bit more detailed. I'm not going to get into that in this webinar, but if you do have variations of items, then in general, the way it works is you have one row for the parent SKU, and then each variation goes on a separate row. Please take a look at that how to prepare your import file document for more information on how that works. And if you get stuck, just reach out to the Vendio support team, and we are happy to help you out and figure that out in more detail if you need it. Next is the eBay gallery image field. So if you want to use a different image other than the default image for the eBay gallery, you can specify it there. Then we have the Open Sky options. If you're selling on Open Sky, this is where you would put the Open Sky category, whether or not the product is customizable, customization prompt, the estimated number of days for the shipping. And then finally, last but certainly not least, is your eBay item condition. It's at the end here because it was excuse me, it's at the end here because it was recently added, and that's why we have it at the end of the file. I apologize for that dog barking that you might have heard in the background. I do work out of my home, and I do have a dog, and we just had some sirens going by, which seems to have set him off. So I apologize for that. But now we have taken a look at how to enter an item into the CSV file. After you filled this in, of course, you would do a new row for each item. You'll go ahead and just save the document. Make sure you're saving it in CSV format, also known as comma delimited or comma separated value. It's very important that it's saved in that format, or else the upload will fail. And then once you have finished filling out that file, we're just going to go back to the items, import items page. And we're going to go back to the CSV file button. And so then you will select whether you're doing import mode or update mode. Import mode would be if you're only updating or importing completely new items and are not updating existing items. And update mode would be if you are updating existing items, and you can also actually import completely new items at the same time that you update existing ones using update mode. Once you have selected which method you are using, you'll just click the Choose File button and select that file that you have created. You can choose to either make newly imported items immediately visible in your Vendio store and OpenSky or not by checking or not checking this box. And then you will want to select the profiles that you would like associated with the imported items. You can also edit an existing profile or add a completely new profile right from this page if that's what you need to do. Once you have selected your file and selected your options, you'll click the Import My Items from File button. That will land you right back on the main import items page, and you can see at the bottom left here there's the View Import Status button that will let you know when that file is completed uploading. And also, if there are any errors, that is where you will find out what errors might have happened so that you can go ahead and correct any issues if necessary. All right, something else that you might want to do when you're listing your seasonal items, and you can actually use the CSV file to help make these changes if you decide to go this route. But something that you might want to do is to list those seasonal items at a higher price now, and that way you have a room for a higher discount or sales price as the season progresses. That way, maybe on Cyber Monday, you can offer a 20% discount instead of a 10% discount. It's a little bit of a gamble because you might get less sales now and more sales then. So it's something to think about. It doesn't work for everyone's business model, but it does work for some. And you can use a CSV file to easily make changes to those prices. But you can also edit the prices of your items in bulk from the My Items page. Let's take a look at that. So if you go to Items and then My Items, and we're just going to clear the filter so we pull up all of our items. This is a really nice option that it's not very obvious and a lot of people can miss it. But let's go ahead and in bulk change the prices of our items to raise them. You can either select individual items, checking the boxes to the left, or you can select an entire page of items at once by checking the box at the top left. Again, you'll want to make sure Quick Edit Mode box is checked, which it already is. And then look to the far right to the Bulk Edit panel, and we have all of the different price fields that we can edit in bulk. Now, obviously, we don't want to charge the same amount of money for our twist ties as we do for our iPhones, but what we can do is we can click here in the price field, and then just click the plus button. And then the plus button allows us to increase the price of the items either by a specific dollar amount or by a percentage. So maybe we want to increase our prices by 20% across the board. You can just select the 20% option, and then clicking Save would increase the prices of all of these items by 20%. Along the same lines, if you need to lower your prices, you can use the minus button, and then you can reduce either by a specific dollar amount or percent amount. So maybe you need to reduce your prices by 10%, and then you just click Save, and it is as simple as that. All right, I do have a couple more suggestions before we go. The first is to make sure that you have a backup plan ready in case you get more sales than you expect. Having a larger sales volume than you hope for can be really great, but if you're not careful, then it can end up with really bad feedback and maybe even a damaged reputation. And nobody wants to deal with that. So you do want to make sure that you have a plan that you can easily put into place should that happen. If you're a one-person business, maybe you work out of your home, it's just you, then you might want to see if you can get a family member or even a friend that is willing to help you out. If you can find someone that's willing to help you out, you want to get them trained now. You don't want to try to train them on your entire business unless that's something they're interested in and you're willing, they're willing, and you have the time. Instead, just pick one or two time-consuming tasks to train them on. The easier to learn and execute and the most time-consuming, the better. That way, if you do find yourself overwhelmed, then they can jump in and help you out without you having to train them first. Maybe that's teaching them how to pack your items. Maybe that's teaching them how to print the shipping labels and mark the orders as shipped from your Vendio account. It depends on what you're selling, and it depends on your business. If you're selling glass, you probably don't want them packing your glass items for you. But if you are selling something that's really not that breakable and is a lot easier to package, then maybe that's what you want to train them on doing. But again, kind of think about it a little bit, figure out something that's easy and time consuming that you can train them on, just one or two things, so that if you do find yourself overwhelmed, then they can jump in and help you out without you having to stop and train them on it first. And then if you're a larger business, maybe you're a larger business and you're not yet at the point where you can hire an additional full-time employee, then you might want to take a look at temp agencies. They could be a good solution for you. If you are thinking that you might need to use a temp agency, though, you'll want to do that research and have one lined up long before you need it. That way, if you do find yourself in a position where you need to get a temp, you can just contact that agency that you already have a relationship with, and hopefully they can get someone in there pretty quickly to help you out. Okay, last but probably most important here is remember to take your own holiday. You'll want to get your own vacation days planned out now and make sure you get those posted wherever it's appropriate on the marketplaces where you're selling. That way your customers won't be surprised about your availability should they run into any issues after they've received their product or with the shipping. But also be sure to have a plan in place to monitor for any emergencies that might need your attention while you're relaxing and taking that much needed time off from selling. All right, this concludes the Vendio webinar on getting ready for the holiday selling season. I really hope you found the information in this webinar helpful. Let me take a look and see if there are any questions. All right, I am not seeing any questions. Let me give it just another minute or two in case there are any. Okay, it looks like there are not any questions. Well, if you do need more help or think of any questions that you have after the webinar, remember that you can always contact support using the help link, which is at the top right of the page in your Vendio account. And you can reach out to Vendio support at any time, and we are happy to help you when you need it. Again, thank you for joining the Vendio webinar. I hope you found it helpful, and have a great day.